Andrew, it's been nearly a year since we last sat down together. Very different time. It was in my London studio, and 8 days after that, you got arrested. What's the year been like for you?
It's certainly been an interesting one. I've been constrained this entire year. I spent 93 days in a Romanian dungeon, 5 months locked in my house, and now I'm restrained within the country of Romania. So it's certainly been a turbulent time.
The moment you got arrested, it was all pretty dramatic. The video came out, the world saw it, a lot of people smashing into your home. Did you have any inkling, warning that something like this may happen?
I knew it. I kept saying before I was arrested on every single podcast I did, I said, you get 3 lives in the world. The first life, they're going to cancel you. They're going to slander you. They're going to delete your access to social media so you can't defend yourself. The second life, they're going to try and put you in jail for no reason. And if you continue to speak against the power, they're going to assassinate you. I knew I was on my second life. I kept saying it. I knew it was coming. I didn't know the bullshit reason they'd use, but I found out once I was in a cell.
When you were arrested, you don't speak any Romanian at
Zero.
all. And they didn't speak English to you.
Correct.
So you were taken to a cell. You had no idea what they were alleging you'd done.
I was arrested on the 27th of December, so because of Christmas and New Year's and other problems, they couldn't even translate my paperwork for 2 weeks. So for the first 2 weeks I was in a prison cell, I had no idea why. I was given papers in Romanian. I could read human trafficking, I understood, but I was like, human trafficking who, when, what? None of this makes sense. I waited 2 entire weeks inside of my cell before I was given an English translation, and then I realized exactly how ridiculous the whole case was. Just to clarify, I am accused of helping my friends get big on TikTok. That is what I'm accused of. I told some girls I know how to post on TikTok to become viral when I was at the time the most viral person on the planet. And they are saying I'm a human trafficker for that reason. It is insane.
Well, we'll come to what you've been accused of. It's more serious than the way you've categorized it, but we'll come to that. There is a lot of speculation that the reason the Romanian authorities knew that you were back, because you were en route, I believe, to Dubai for a New Year's Eve party, is that you were interacting with Greta Thunberg on social media, and you had a pizza in front of you which came from a well-known Romanian pizza store. Is there any truth to that?
I don't think so. I think that they know where I was. A lot of people knew where I was, and they had instructions from higher up to teach me a lesson. I was on my second life, and that's exactly what I'm going through right now.
There's an irony to your situation, because you always said the reason you came to Romania was precisely because you thought you could avoid being in this situation.
Well, I loved Romania, and it's a strong Christian nation with strong traditional values. I want a life where I'm left alone by government. I don't believe in big government. I'm trying to avoid that. It felt like Romania was a place which was very safe societally, and the government was not too interested or involved in people's lives. But things change. Also, your freedom and your ability to speak the truth is heavily correlated to your insignificance. When you become large and people start listening to what you say, you soon realize you no longer have freedom of speech. And it doesn't matter where you are on the planet. If they decide you must be assassinated, you will be assassinated.
You in jail, what was that like?
Romanian jail is not English jail.
Describe it. What was the cell like?
I have to be careful what I say because I don't want to insult the Romanian justice system, which I'm still beholden to. However, it's exactly as bad as people would expect it to be. Luckily, it was in the winter, so the cockroaches were not too bad. It was also during Ramadan, so I didn't have to eat so much, which was helpful because of the situation. I think the most stressful thing about it is I had no idea how long I was going to be in there for. I was dragged from my house. I was given papers in Romanian. I didn't know why I was there. I found out why I was there, and it was garbage. I couldn't seem to get out. I could have been held for years. It's very stressful, and the best thing you can do is turn to God and train as hard as possible. I did thousands of push-ups a day every single day.
Were you in solitary in this period, 3 months?
No, I wasn't in solitary the entire time. Sometimes I was by myself, sometimes I was with other guys, and sometimes I was with my brother. So,
when you were on your own, were they keeping you in there for 24 hours a day? Were you allowed out?
No, I wasn't allowed out. There was no yard time. It was 24 hours a day, locked in a single room, probably 3 or 4 steps large, and you do nothing but stare at the wall. And you.
How many days did you do that for, on your own?
11, 12.
I mean, that's a pretty grim scenario for anyone.
Life's grim.
For you, always being Mr. Confident, you've said, interestingly, that you wouldn't categorize what you were feeling as depression because you don't believe in the concept of depression. You and I have argued about that before. But it sounds to me, from what I've seen you say when you've talked about this, that was pretty close to depression, what you were feeling.
Life's grim. And if you want to be a superhero, you have to understand in every single superhero movie, he is losing for 80% of the movie. He's going to suffer for the majority of the movie before he wins at the end. I've always wanted an exceptional life, Piers, and I'm not a coward. And I knew that by telling the truth about certain issues, I was going to pay the price for it. So I won't say that I deserve to be in jail, but I certainly put myself in there by telling the truth to the populace and telling the truth and living.
But when you're on your own in that cell, what were you thinking? It's a long time to self-reflect, right?
It certainly is. And I think my number one concern when I was in jail, despite the fact that my situation was dire, were my concerns as a man and all the people I have to take care of, and my children and my family and the people I pay for and all the people who work for me. And truthfully, I wasn't worried about myself, I was worried about everybody else. And I think that's the true masculine frame.
Did you get emotional? Did you shed tears in your cell?
I'm an emotional man. I think men are hyper emotional. We just have to control it. I was extremely busy inside of my jail cell. I had lots of push-ups to do. I was very concerned about the people on the outside. I was trying my best to get out. It's difficult for me to answer the question because it was an interesting frame of mind. I knew that God was watching and I had to perform. It's very difficult for me to go through life saying I'm the top G, I'm this, I'm that, and speak about mental resilience and mental toughness, and then the second I'm thrown inside of a solitary confinement cell, cower out. I'm not that person. There's some other people who talk about mental toughness and want to give advice, and when bad things happen to them, they end up addicted to prescription drugs. I'm not a coward and I'm not a liar.
No, but it would be perfectly natural to be emotional in that scenario, and there's no shame in admitting that.
I was emotional. I missed people. I missed them, and I knew they missed me. So I felt a strong sense of missing.
But you cried.
There were tears that ran down my face, but I did not cry.
I mean, that's crying.
I would disagree.
Because you're worried about admitting that. You think it sounds
Absolutely
weak.
not. That's a perfectly fine scenario to cry in, but I think the act of crying is an act of desperation. To sit and to cry is an act in and of itself. To do push-ups, thinking of your children with tears running down your face, but you're concerned with finishing as many push-ups as possible within that day, I do not consider that crying. I consider that tears running down my face.
When you found out what they were alleging you'd done, sexual assault, exploitation, and so on, what did you feel about that? What was your first reaction?
My first reaction was, the standard playbook. The standard playbook for anybody who speaks up against power is sexual exploitation. Isn't it the normal one they go to? Can't we name like 10 or 15 people right now they hit them with this exact same garbage? Name a full-grown man who's 36 or 37 years old who's not had sexual relations with a woman at some point in the past. And the way the Matrix works is they lie by omission, right? They just hit Russell Brand with it. I think they hit P. Diddy with it this morning. Julian Assange, they just got hit with it. He's still in his cell.
But lots of people get hit with these allegations and it turns out to be true.
A lot of people get hit with them and they turn out to be false. So.
Yeah, but you're sort of trying to make out all the people you just named are innocent. You don't know that.
Of course I don't know that, but a lot of people get hit and it turns out to be false.
Why would you assume they're innocent?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because the way the Matrix operates is it chooses something which is heinous. If they accused me of drug dealing, nobody would care. They choose something which is heinous, so the process itself is a punishment. So they damage your reputation throughout the process, regardless of whether it's successful or not. Then what they do is they lie by omission. They throw you in a cell and they contact everyone you've ever interacted with. 2,000 people I know were called, and they were looking for one person to say they're a victim. By the way, they failed. They did not even find one. But if they did, they would then say, Andrew Tate's victim, he's a sexual assaulter. And they would remove the testimony of the 1,999 people who said, I'm a very nice man. Lie by omission. And then they put together this entire package, use the mainstream media to convince the world that you deserve to be in jail. And that is how the Matrix operates.
I mean, to be clear, I don't know if you're guilty or not.
I do.
You're perfectly entitled to say that. And you know, right?
Of course I know.
But I don't know. And I will await any trial that comes to see what comes out in the trial and see what happens, right? So I'm not going to prejudge the trial. I'm not going to judge you and say, I think you're guilty. I don't know, right? We are where we are. You've been charged with serious crimes and it's likely you'll face a trial and we'll see how that all plays out, obviously. Going back to jail, how were you treated by other people?
Everybody in jail was extremely apologetic to me. All of the staff, the police officers, everyone who worked in the jail, the person who served me my meal, everybody was very sorry for what happened to me. They made it very clear they knew it was garbage, and they were apologetic. That was the only vibe I could give you. They were kind of like, listen, you got too big. I'm sorry. This is how things work. And sorry, here's your meal. Nobody had any real problem with me. None of the prisoners had a problem with me.
Did you get into any fights?
There was a couple scenarios where violence could have occurred, but I think once people realize that violence is a certainty and that you do not operate under a fearful realm, they often aren't so interested.
So people threatened you?
I wouldn't say they threatened me, but they would have liked to have got the opportunity to threaten me.
And what happened?
And they realized that would have been a bad decision. And all in all...
Well, what did you say to them? Because you don't speak Romanian, so...
I didn't, you're right. I actually used a quote from Street Fighter. I said, I quoted Dowson, and I said, they do not understand the secrets of yoga fire, because I knew they had no idea what I was talking about. It was near the washing machines, and they looked at me like I was completely crazy, and they walked away.
There's more than one person?
Correct.
And they made it clear what? That they wanted to...
I have to be careful what I say, because I'm still beholden to the Romanian judicial system.
Yeah, but that's just an incident in jail. That's
Correct.
nothing to do with the system.
An incident report was written, and it's better I don't mention it.
But there was a direct threat to you.
I've had threats, yeah, and I have threats every single day of my life, and I think jail is a hyper-pressurized version of reality, and you need to have an extremely strong mind so you don't attack yourself, and an extremely strong body so others don't attack you. And I understood that there was a threat of violence at all times, and I just decided to go through life extremely respectfully, but make it clear if that's a decision somebody else wants to make, that I'm prepared to partake.
One of the things I would think about, other than my family, immediate family, but one particular member of my family, if I found myself in jail, would be my mother and what she would be feeling and what she'd be thinking. She's been incredibly supportive to me. I know yours has to you. Did you think about your mother?
I was extremely concerned for her. I was concerned because the media establishment were hounding her. She was obviously very worried, but she knew she raised strong sons. But we're her number one protectors, and I was concerned for her. I wasn't concerned for myself in jail. I didn't even suffer in jail as much as I did when I got out. I didn't have nightmares in jail. I had nightmares once I left jail. I was in the middle of a battle. I don't think you get PTSD while you're fighting. You get it afterwards. I was in the middle of a battle trying to make sure that everybody I love and care about is taken care of and trying to make sure that bills are paid. Please understand, the day I was arrested, which is a year ago, every single bank account that I have was frozen. All of my assets were taken. I haven't had a dollar of money
You had 10
since January.
cars taken, I think.
15.
15 cars and how many properties?
15 cars, 6 properties, 20 diamond watches, gold bars, cash, land, every single bank account, millions and millions and
What was
millions
the
of
total
dollars.
value of everything they seized?
16, 17 million?
Pounds?
Yeah. And they took all of it. And I still don't have access to any of these things.
I mean, as we're doing this interview, you're expecting to hear sometime today as to whether you may get those possessions back. Is it all or nothing? Do you get it all back or nothing?
Correct. As we sit here, the judge is deciding whether I get all of my items returned or I get none of them returned. And truthfully, under the law, I should have never had them taken in the first place. So we're going to see what the judge decides. And I have to put my faith within the Romanian judicial system. I have no other choice. I'm not a coward. I'm not going to run. But let's not talk about the Romanian judicial system. Let's talk about the judicial systems of the world.